Karen, thank you so much for joining us today. We'd love to hear from you. Tell us a little bit more about Futurpreneur Canada.
Well, Futurpreneur is a relatively older organization that supports relatively young entrepreneurs. We've been around now for 24 years, helping entrepreneurs age 18 to 39 launch successful businesses. So we've actually helped well over 12,000 young entrepreneurs in every province and territory of the country with our core model, which is the loan financing and mentorship they need to not only have the capital they need to get started with their business, which we provide in partnership with the BDC, but then also have the mentorship, which helps them have that guidance as they get going. In fact, right now, we currently have more than 3,200 active entrepreneurs in our loan portfolio who are in their first 5 years of starting their business, again, all over the country.
That's tremendous. That's such a great resource for entrepreneurs. Given some really good practical advice on taking a look at finances and how to rethink operating models. What are some key skills here that entrepreneurs need to tap into during this time?
Well, creativity and resilience would be at the very top of that list, and fortunately, most entrepreneurs have that in spades. That is really their core competency. And it's never been more important. And I think if each entrepreneur really steps back to the core of what are they ultimately doing, not how did they used to deliver their service, but what is their service? And we've seen some really great creative pivots that have come out of that. We have a wonderful Di Napoli cafe coffee entrepreneur in Quebec that used to have a B2B business. Well, she's now made it B2C, where she's gone online with the tagline Coffee Queen, selling directly to consumers. We have a gym in Winnipeg called The Community. It had just opened its doors not long before the COVID-19 pandemic. And suddenly, you think about a gym, there are a few things less in person than a gym with equipment where people come together in a physical space to do classes. Well, they are now renting out their equipment on a monthly basis to their members and doing classes online. So a lot of people are going from in-person instruction and classes to online. They're also renting their equipment in such a way that people have what they need in order to do these classes. You see this with wine tastings. Wine Nose in Alberta used to be in-person wine tastings. Now has taken wine tastings online with such success that they're actually going to continue this after the fact. Zero-based grocery stores doing the same thing. So lots of we hear a lot about grocery delivery, but the zero-waste model takes that to the next level and doing that on a delivery basis. So we see a lot of great examples. And these are pivots of an existing business. One of the really heartwarming things also, which doesn't necessarily drive revenue for the entrepreneur, but is the way that entrepreneurs are mobilizing to help society more generally, are things like our many, many distilleries across the country that are now becoming experts in making hand sanitizer. Fashion retailers that are now making personal protective equipment for hospital workers. We even have an entrepreneur in Toronto, Elle Ayabzadeh of Zavel, who is raising awareness and celebrating healthcare heroes and turning her fashion footwear. She'll give one of her designer sandals to the healthcare hero who's spotlighted, who wins the awareness contest on social media. So these are kind of some examples where I think focusing on the positive and on what entrepreneurs can do. And it's a tough time because when we're stressed, we tend to, a lot of us go into stress mode, and that might involve hard selling. Now's a time, I think, where the people who are having success are doing the opposite. They're presenting what they can do in a way that's very positive, very consumer and community focused. Even if they are pivoting to try to help themselves, my hairdresser just started selling their products online. The positioning of it wasn't, we're scrambling for revenue right now, we're not providing haircuts in person, we need money coming in. The positioning was, while we can't cut or color your hair during this time, we can make sure that you have the products that you need in order to take care of yourself at home. And we look forward to seeing you soon. I think that kind of soft community positioning is important. And then we had talked earlier about the expense side, making sure you are in touch with the people whose bills you normally need to pay. Let them know how you're doing, where you are, where concessions are possible.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Thank you. I definitely need to check out the wine, the coffee,
exactly. Yeah.
products. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you for those success stories. I'd love to know more about how Futurpreneur Canada is going to be supporting Canadian entrepreneurs through this crisis with no end in sight. It's hard to know what the time frame is that we're looking at. So we'd love to hear from you around what that support may look like.
Absolutely. And you're right. We have more questions than answers right now. So again, we're trying to help entrepreneurs focus on what's within their control by supporting them with that. There are two different communities of entrepreneurs we're supporting. One is small businesses generally, and we have an online resource guide where we've tried to list the kinds of resources for small business and entrepreneurs that are available and help entrepreneurs. There's so much information right now. We're trying to help entrepreneurs and small businesses navigate it and find out what's available for them and how to access it. So that's an early step that we took. With our existing portfolio of more than 3,000 entrepreneur clients who actively have a loan with us that they got to start their business, we actually did it for the first time in our history. We did a 1-month payment freeze because we were hearing from so many entrepreneurs who were concerned about making their payments while we waited to find out exactly how high the demand is. And we're working closely with our partners, with the federal government and our bank partners on what kind of relief measures will be available. In the meantime, we just paused payments. We essentially took one bill off their plate with zero implications on their credit rating for this pause. So that, we heard a lot of relief, I think, from a lot of these entrepreneurs that we've done that. And then we're trying to bring the community together. So we've launched new national webinars, and over the first 2 weeks, we had well over 250 people participate in each of the English and French speaking webinars that we had, which brought our entrepreneur coaches together with entrepreneurs to answer questions, share helpful tips, share what's working for them. And we've created an online Slack community. Again, for our community of entrepreneurs we've already supported, where they can go in, again, share helpful tips, basically have this peer-to-peer community and also share information. So that's a lot of what we've done for our current community, and we are building and working on more programs. The other thing is, every time there is any sort of adverse economic situation, and I think that's an understatement for what's happening right now, there is innovation and new ideas that come out of it. There will be people who are no longer employed who think, wow, this is the time to launch my dream business. And those people are still applying to our program and are ready to launch once things normalize. So we are also still very much open with our loan portfolio, with our mentors, helping new businesses launch. So really two goals right now. How do we help the businesses that have launched through this period? And how do we make sure that we have the resources to help the entrepreneurs who will be launching out of this?
Karen, so with time on our hands, what are some resources, podcasts or books that you could recommend that can really help equip entrepreneurs and small businesses with some new knowledge, some new tools around this time?
I think one of the things that is helpful is just hearing stories and getting a sense of what has worked for others and getting those ideas and inspiration. And two sources that are very different, but that I quite like are, on the one hand, Startup Canada has several different podcast series where they talk to either entrepreneurs or Nicole Verkint, who's one of the Futurpreneur supported entrepreneurs as well, the founder of OMX, did a great one. So either stories from entrepreneurs and organizations supporting entrepreneurs. I've done them as well for Startup Canada. And then on the other side, sometimes it's just helpful to be inspired.
Right.
And one of our former board members, Janice McDonald, recently released her Fearless Women podcast series, and now actually has a book of these fearless women. And over the past year, interviewed many dozens, perhaps even hundreds of women in all different kinds of experiences and circumstances, who shared their journey of ways that they have been fearless. Fearlessness is pretty important right now, it feels. So that could just be a source of inspiration for people.
That's great. I like that. I like the combination of inspiration and some good hard advice there. Karen, thank you so much for joining us today. As an entrepreneur and as a business owner, your advice is very thoughtful and obviously very valuable insights. And we feel very strongly for this community to be able to come out on the other side of this crisis well equipped, and to be able to look forward to their next chapter. So it may be a bit of a rough road ahead, but we're hoping here's to everyone emerging stronger and better than ever. Anything that you'd like to share with us before we close?
Yeah, I think the final thought I'd leave, and it's a hard one right now, but it's just for everyone who is an entrepreneur or a small business owner, to be kind to themselves right now and to take care of themselves. It's easy to really get so upset and frustrated by how much is outside of our control, but there are some things that are within our control. Taking just a little bit of time for self-care, whether it's mindfulness or physical exercise, or just a laugh on Zoom with a friend or family, or in person with a family member. But making time for self-care right now, whatever self-care is for them, is a really important thing. And one thing for all that this is a really difficult time, it is different for everyone. And I think it's important that for as many entrepreneurs as are currently really struggling and facing some very hard decisions, Canadians are resilient, and there are a lot of new entrepreneurs out there with great ideas who are optimistic about the future once we get past this. And that dichotomy, what we're trying to do at Futurpreneurs, help both of them. And we're seeing a lot of promise in what's ahead while trying to do our very best to support those who are struggling right now.
That's great. Thank you so much, Karen. Keep well and healthy. It was great to see you. And hopefully we get a chance to have that coffee in person.
In person. Absolutely. Thanks, Amrita.
Take care. Bye.
You too.